Now, while Arsenal definitely deserved to beat Fulham and didn't get the job done in the end, I still think there are some real issues with the squad construction. In this video, we're going to talk about some real concerning problems, but Arsenal still should be good enough to compete for the title for the upcoming months. So let's get into it. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be very disappointed with the draw to Fulham, and I think it is fair enough. However, I am not too concerned because I know that we are third now with Chelsea's win at Tottenham, but we will be back to 9 points behind Liverpool like we were before, so nothing has really changed there. Now, it is annoying because Arsenal really needed to win every game in this period, but if we draw to Fulham and win all the others, it should be at least a little bit okay. And honestly, the Fulham game was the most worry, as it is a team we clearly struggled against last season. Now, I do think this game was very different. I actually think we played not amazingly, but enough to definitely win the game, but I do think there are some concrete issues with the team. Now, a lot of people are always going to look at the strikers. I don't think Havertz had a good game against Fulham, and I don't think Jesus was good coming on. However, I'm someone that has gone on about it not being a priority over some other positions, and in my opinion, a left wing is the most position that we need. This is because I just don't think in games like this, where Saka is mostly getting worked really hard by people like Robinson and Iwobi catching that position, we really need to rely on our left sometimes, and just being so one-sided and giving the ball to Saka at all points is never going to help. Now, the real big issue with this game to start off with was the fact that Timber played in left back, Partey in right back. Now, he's going to have to be braver in the future. I'm not sure about Lewis Skelly's fitness, but he's on the bench, and Kieran Tierney is. Much better options in left back than Timber, and although Timber did some really good movements for that space in left wing, it's quite clear that our wingers are not good enough there to actually make any difference. Now, a great example of this is when Arsenal were attacking early on, and we just couldn't progress the ball through the wingers unless Timber made that run into the half space. There's a point where he does so well with the ball in the half space, puts the ball out to Trossard, who instantly slows the play down, and then cuts in and has a shot straight to the goalkeeper. This isn't really good enough and isn't that fast electric pace person we need to make decisive impact. And it was the same when Martinelli came on, where he did the exact same thing, did many poor crosses, and eventually did a great cross but didn't even stay onside when he's looking across the line. And now this is the thing, when you watch players such as Rafael Leao or even Creature Kvaratskhelia, who are obviously elite left wingers, you can just see the difference. They get into these 1v1 positions and are so much more impactful. They can run past players, they're physical, and they make the right decision most of the time. And this has been a problem about Arsenal's left wingers for a while. This isn't new. Even in the game against Manchester United, there's a point where Martinelli is one-on-one against a defender and he just has no idea what to do. He just shoots early, it takes a deflection and goes straight into Onana's hand. And if that is Saka, obviously on the other side, or any other winger that looking for a top 6 club, they're at least going to punish people in different ways. Even teams that are a lot worse than us, such as Tottenham or Man United, even have wingers that will do that. And I do think sometimes that the criticism that Martinelli's got over the last few years has been maybe not all down to his fault, but I also think to say that it's down to just tactics, which I said multiple times, is unfair. He has got an incredibly poor decision-making process. He is not a good byline winger, which is really what we need within that team on that side. And he's not really a brilliant ball carrier. His dribbling style isn't very good for that long distance way. Now, we brought Sterling in to do that, but he just isn't getting the game time out there. So the ball carrying has to keep consistently coming from other players. And this is why Arsenal looks so weak without Calafiori and without Timber within the team, because sometimes there is just no one to bring the ball up from deep in that way. And with Calafiori's consistent injury problems, and we can't keep relying on Timber every game after he just came back from an ACL injury last year, and he's not really amazing in left back anyway, we just really need to think about signing a winger. Now, I've seen so much discussion about this, and there's people on Twitter talking about who we should sign in January, but it just doesn't seem like people really understand the market. We're not going to be here signing your Nico Williams, your Creature Kvaratskhelia, or Rafael Leao's in the winter transfer window. They'll just cost way too much that we would be willing to pay or should pay, and a lot of them are in their own title races and doing their own thing. Why would they leave that club halfway through? So we've just got to be a little bit realistic. Maybe not sign these best players in the world, but we just need someone that's going to ball carry from deep a lot more, at least in that midfield position or that wing, because we keep going on about how Mourinho's going to make things better and Calafiori's going to play better, but when Calafiori isn't fit, he's not trusting Mourinho in these games. Mourinho is not starting, and even Jorginho is playing over him more right now. Now, we've got Everton coming up next week, in which Declan Rice is actually suspended for because he got yellow in the last minute, so Mourinho must have to play in that game if we're going to consistently still have injury problems. But there is some real concrete issues of Arsenal's left-hand side, and we can't keep relying on Calafiori to come in and fix all these problems, because even him, he's not a finished product, and he's not always fit, and that is a real issue in the future. Arsenal need to find a way to also have more left footers on on that left-hand side. I do think that is one of the big things about Calafiori compared to Timber out there. Calafiori's movements and passes and that sequence makes way more sense when he isn't a right footer. It just makes him a lot easier to play, and the angles just make a lot more sense, which is a problem that Timber is having. Now, Timber is still doing a good job considering his circumstances, and Partey is in right back, but they're not going to offer anything going forward. And on the right hand side, that is fine because Saka and Odegaard are enough. On the left hand side, they're just not. Declan Rice does have great ball carrying abilities, but he's not consistent in that position. It doesn't open up the space for the players down there, and even people like Havertz coming over, he's another right footer. It doesn't really help the angles. And we spoke about the reports a few months ago of Arsenal talking about how they feel Trossard and Martinelli are both squad players on that left hand side, and I agree. I do think Martinelli hasn't kicked on in the last 2 years, and even then you can say, well, he plays a specific way which Arsenal aren't playing, which is fair enough. You know, we can't expect everyone to be very well rounded, but at the highest level, wingers are just able to do more things. I know there's definitely examples of people like Doku being a high dribbler and a high ball carrier and not really doing anything else, but he also isn't starting and hasn't been great consistently. And when Arsenal do go against mid blocks, that Fulham mid block has always been dangerous to us. We actually did well to bypass that original block in this game. We just couldn't create anything because these players are not good enough on the wing positions, and it is going to keep considerably hurting Arsenal in the future unless we sort it out. Now, luckily, we seem to have other things intact, and we would have won this game if we just took our chances and Martinelli could stay on side. But even if we did win this game, there are still evident problems there. The defense is usually fine as it is. They don't see many chances. You know, Kivior came in, made a mistake, and they scored, you could say, which isn't going to happen consistently because we have our main players in there. And going forward, we still created enough chances, but a lot of it is still, again, from corners. We just can't keep doing this, and we can't keep relying on Nicholas Jova to create wonder chances for the team. We have to be better from open play, and we have to be more balanced. And the lengths gone to be more balanced in the summer, such as bringing Calafiori and Marino in, are good, but they're just not playing because of injury problems, tactical problems with the injuries that are coming out. And we're back in the same situation where we want Martinelli and Trossard to perform, and they are not. And I don't think either of them deserve really to be in this team consistently. But at least Martinelli does work really hard off the ball, which is a good asset to have. But if you're not giving us anything going forward, it isn't going to help in the long run. Now, overall, I will reiterate the point that I do not think it is the end of the world. Of course, other teams are still doing better than us, Chelsea and Liverpool to be examples, but I do still think Arsenal have a relatively easier schedule coming up, which we do have to just perform in. But this still is a concern in the long run. Going into January, we have to try and sort something out. Maybe there's some cheap options we can get. I probably will do videos covering players that we can get, because even when Calafiori and Gabriel comes back, we're always one game away from them being injured again, especially Calafiori, and then us being in the same situation. And considering we just need to keep getting points, this isn't the best way to go about that. And if we are going to stay in this title race, if we're going to be, I'd say, within 4 points by March, February time is where we really need to aim for. We just need to be a lot better, and it's not really good enough. And I don't really blame Arteta in the game state, because I actually think we played fine against Fulham, and I don't really think it's his fault that the team screwed up in many ways. And of course, the people that he played is definitely a concern, which I do think you can look at. But it comes from a recruitment standpoint now. Who is that to blame? That's probably to blame the whole team, including Edu, who is now left. That they failed to identify that is exactly what we need. And we did get Sterling in, who can do that, but he is just not really that good, is he? He's okay, I guess, for sometimes. They don't really want to give him much opportunities to play, and I don't really know why, because quite frankly, the other two left wingers are not really doing that right now. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one.